MBR, nothing but rants, show where I find topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about.
Nothing but rants.
Hot takes.
3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. You know Brooks finna cook, let him rain. Try to do it like us, but you can't. Stay the young, going dumb with the chance. Big plays lead to even bigger bands. What's up? What's the word? What's the play? What we talking about? On the scene with the team, yeah, we popping out. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. What it is, what it ain't, what's happening? We gon' hit you with the stats and the facts, man. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Hey, shout it end zone dancing. We about to start it up, this the anthem. That right, big rings got me handsome. Hold them up like we came for the ransom. I'm in the field, 2-minute drill. Highlight reel, let's review, what's the deal, okay? Watching footage going out of control. Buckle up, we got an hour to go, so let's go, that's straight heat. Ain't no chillin' around here. Back that back, Nat Chance, how we feelin' around here? Got my whole squad in the building around here. If my name ain't on it, then I really don't care. Come on. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Hey. Yeah.
You do anything you want. I ain't got no problem with it. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. No, come find me. No, come find me. Listen to the words. Come find me. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
I ain't hard guy to find. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
You can do anything you want. I ain't got no.
Oh, we hit it twice. How do we... What the heck's going on? Let's make the homie big. Oh, there he is. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday afternoon. It is noon kickoff around here. Big noon kickoff on the Film Guy Network. JWill, how we doing today?
You know, we got a taste of some in-season type of content for us. We had film study in the morning, then we got a live show. I mean, it feels like we're in the midst of college football right now.
Buddy, I ain't had so much juice in front of a camera and in front of a board in a fat minute. I mean, I was peaking mics, I was peaking audio. Man, the film study we got coming up today at about 2:00 is fire. It's absolutely fire. We're going to take a look at some of them young cats on that Georgia defense, what to be looking forward to in terms of the future of that University of Georgia defense. But it's Q&A time, man. It is time to fire off some football questions for your boy, or any questions that you want answered today. We always know the rules around here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to the network if you're not already. Make sure you're firing off in that chat today, ladies and gentlemen. Super Chubs get hit first. And Football Q4BA, our email account set up for football questions specifically. Again, that is football, the word football, Q, the letter Q, FORBA at gmail.com. We got one today from our man Ryan Mell, and he wanted to know the difference between 3-4 and 50 front defense. I want to read this from Ryan Mell. He said, you mentioned on the film breakdown of both UGA's games against Texas that UGA utilized a 50 front against Texas wide zone run scheme. What is the schematic and personnel difference between the 50 front and their 3-4 base look, if there's any difference? Again, this is Football Q for BA. Let's head to the board and address my man's question. Tremendous question here from Ryan, and honestly, has a variety of different answers based off the keyword there, personnel, right? What guys do we have out on the field? We understand what a 50 front defense and what a 3-4 defense looks like. Let's talk about the complexities of it. Up here at the top of the screen, I have that base 50 front defense, or as it was originally called, the Bear defense. And if you remember why, the 1985 Bears invented this, basically trying to put a player on each offensive lineman and have linebackers running free behind them. We see this 50 front defense, a true 0, 2-3 techniques, and 2 defensive ends. Now, the key question was personnel. When we talk about personnel in a 50 front defense, most of the time playing it against a 12 personnel offensive formation, right? 2 tight ends on the field, meaning we've got to get bigger. In years prior, when you saw this 50 front defense from Georgia, you really saw a defensive end bump out here. We put 3 big bodies right there in the middle and then play that jack as the other defensive end. And go back to 2017, they hop into this. We keep 2 outside linebackers on the field because you got Lorenzo Carter in the mix, okay? Same thing when we get down here at the bottom. Put a lot more base defense back in the day when they had a really, really athletic and long outside linebacker. But the real difference is these guys walked up on the line of scrimmage, okay? We're going to take these big bodies and we're going to put them on the line of scrimmage in this 50 front defense. I put a J over here to emphasize that's probably our jack body type, and then that defensive end over here. All right, that's that defensive end body type. Now, what made it really, really unique this year against the University of Texas is this guy right here playing this position. This was Jalen Walker this year, okay? Jalen Walker has the ability to play off-ball linebacker and play on the line of scrimmage, right? And if he needs to, drop out of this. Very diverse and versatile football player was Jalen Walker. They had fun with it, being able to do so. And by the way, maintain C.J. Allen on the field and Smile Mondon on the field, or Raylan Wilson, insert inside linebacker here. Now, let's go down to the bottom. This is more of the traditional 3-4 look. Now, if you Google any depth chart projection for the University of Georgia, you will find them listed as a base 3-4 personnel football team. It's fugazi. It's a lie. They're a mint 4-2-5 football team, okay? They play 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs almost all the time. Unless a football team lives in 12 personnel, they will hop into what we call base defense, all right? This 3-4 player personnel, and normally this Sam out here is really your jack body type. That's going to be your Azeez Ojulari, your Nolan Smith. Last year, your Jalen Walker hybrid football player in that position. Sometimes a guy like Chaz Chambliss, sometimes a guy like Mykel Williams. Now, the key, and nowadays why teams have gotten away from running base 3-4 personnel and really walking this jack down on the line of scrimmage, bumping this guy into a 3-tech, playing a 4-eye on the backside. The reason being, we're playing way too many teams that live in 11 personnel with slot receivers that are deathly terrifying to cover, all right? So the last thing we want to do, because not everyone's created like Chris Cole, the last thing we want to do is have an outside linebacker over here running or having to cover a slot receiver. So we pretty much removed the outside linebacker out of the equation, and we've put a nickel back there, right? We're putting a 5th defensive back onto the field playing out of a base 4-2-5 personnel. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when people say Georgia's a base 3-4 team. You are wrong. You're wrong. They are a base 4-2-5 football team that can bump into 3-4 because they recruit a tremendous amount of edge rushers. It's a great question there from Ryan Mell. And again, if you have specific football questions that pop up into your brain, all right, throughout the week or throughout a portion of content, if I say something during a broadcast that you don't quite understand, that email account is set up for you. Again, that's footballq for FORBA. All right, let's start hammering some of these questions in the chat today. This is my favorite. Where's Kirby?
Being the slacker that he is out in Las Vegas right now.
Just a bum. Just a bum. Don't know why he's in Vegas. Just doesn't want to work. So good for him. What's vacation like?
I can't speak on that. I kind of know what it's like.
I don't know. Yeah. It took a 17-dayer over Christmas time. Can you believe this? This guy took a 17-day vacation. I take one stream off, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on in my 17 days? Just living with a bunch of bums around here. What's the worst type of person? The person who takes a 17-day vacation. And why is the person that stands up as soon as the plane lands? That's a bad guy.
Yeah.
The guy who stands up as soon as the ding of the bell of the seatbelts goes off, screw that guy.
And like, it makes sense, if you're towards the front of the plane, but us commoners, we sit towards the back of the plane because that's the tickets that we can get. Instead, it just makes no sense to me. Like you're going to shave off maybe 5 seconds of your time. I will say, close second, person that talks on speakerphone in public.
Oh. Now, I don't want to target any specific audience, but yeah, the person who is constantly either on FaceTime or speakerphone in a public setting, there's a guy at the combine in the media lounge or media work area that was on speakerphone with, I guess, a family member well over an hour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even pertinent conversation. At one point, he was telling him what was happening on the television in the media workroom. Yeah. Buddy, get out of here. Worst.
No excuse for it anymore because AirPods exist. So many Bluetooth devices exist where you can just chat it up in a public setting while nobody has to hear your conversation.
Conversation's not that intriguing. Don't really care much to hear it. Caleb Williams says, Brooks, do you or the boys have any musical talents? Now, I like to fancy myself a relatively decent singer, almost to a fault. Definitely to a fault if you've been in the Discord since 2019. I picture Kirby. Now, he would never admit this because I think he thinks it would come with judgment from us. Kirby strikes me as I tried to learn how to play guitar for women.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For women specifically.
For women-specific purposes, I tried to learn how to play a guitar. Now, you strike me as someone who might one day pick up a ukulele.
Oh, I don't know about that. Now, I did.
Little Hawaiian vibes on stretch over there.
I was in band in middle school because my mom told me I had to try it. I played
Hell
the
yeah.
trumpet.
First chair?
No, I was more second, but I played trumpet in middle school. Quickly figured out I ain't doing this.
My wife played a horn of sorts and was first chair.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, I got respect for it.
Yours truly? Never.
Anybody that's talented with an instrument in their hand, I'm like, you've got some special talents for sure.
Love that. Become the Sea, says Landon Duckworth or Bo Bentley. Bo Bentley. I've seen Landon Duckworth in person 3 or 4 times. Extremely good athlete, extremely promising career. Maybe one day will be great. Needs to be refined tremendously as a thrower of the football.
I do want to discuss this because I feel like I can't remember which quarterback class it was. I want to say it was Dylan Raiola's class where Jared Curtis obviously is very impressive, and he's the number 1 quarterback, and he's the consistent number 1 quarterback based on how teams are recruiting him. He cut his list down to Georgia and Oregon, but a lot of teams are treating him as this is the number 1 quarterback in the class. But when I watch Bo Bentley's tape, I leave far more impressed on Jared Curtis. I know that there's a difference in the talent that both are playing. Bentley plays out in Texas, some high-level high school football, whereas Curtis is playing in some low-level Tennessee high school football. Both are extremely talented, but I typically like the guys more with the film that pops more.
Yeah, it's the arm talent that pops on Curtis.
Yes.
You go in person, and there's not a throw that kid cannot make. And with a tremendous amount of life, and the ball jumps, I hope I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't know this to be fact, but every other kid that doesn't do the Elite 11 circuit, tanks down the rankings. I don't know if Jared Curtis has any intentions to throw in the Elite 11 circuit. So we'll see. I want to see it. Now, I might have to travel up to Nashville area just to get to see it. But by the time the season rolls around, he might be an Oregon Duck. And, it just might not be a reason to drive up there just to go, ooh, look at him throw in warm-ups. But I think there is a reason he is 1. He will remain at 1, even on my board. Like I want to put Bo Bentley up there because of the tape. Undeniable physical traits from Jared Curtis. Undeniable.
We do have a trip to Knoxville this year, so maybe we'll get a chance to check out Curtis on our trip up there.
Yeah, might catch a bye week. You never know.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Like last year when we traveled to Oxford, we missed a bye week on Deuce Night. I would have liked to have seen that one in person after in a game after having seen him for years on the throwing circuit. Love a good nooner. So do we, Cody McCormick. Big noon kickoff here on the network. Caleb Master says, do you think Georgia might bring back simulated pressure? What kind of personnel makes that possible? Do we have them on the roster? Okay, so here's what you should know about sim pressures, okay? Simulated pressures were Dan Lanning's baby. He didn't invent it, but boy, did he run it ad nauseum. He liked running it way more than even like Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann were comfortable doing, because it does create some voids. It does create exposures, if you will, to potential explosives. So I think when Schumann took things over in 2022, I think you saw more of a return to traditional base defense. That being said, okay, Warren Brinson off this roster, Michael Williams off this roster, not Stackhouse off this roster. I think you're going to have to create a little bit more chaos and create a little bit more havoc this year. I have noted this offseason, I think you will have to get back to some of that. And on top of that, the types of athletes you now have at the inside linebacker position that are more akin to Quay Walker than they were to C.J. Allen or even Smile Mondon, right? Justin Williams and Chris Cole look a whole hell of a lot more like Quay Walker in that maybe he's a hybrid edge rusher. Maybe he can get loose on some of these interior offensive linemen and create an edge, or capture an edge than some of these, I'm not going to say stockier linebackers, but that's what they are. Mm-hmm. C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson are built far more like Monty Rice, Nakobe Dean, Roquan Smith than they are like Quay Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that certainly when you have this much turnover on a defense, and specifically what Georgia has gone through over 4 years of what they've done in the NFL draft, I mean, you have to adapt. And so I think that Schumann kind of caught some strays a little bit this year because people felt like he wasn't doing a good enough job with the personnel that he had. So I think that maybe him not having to get more creative, but giving a different look, maybe that'll take some of the heat, I guess you could call it, off of him.
It's a good question here from Cody McCormick. Brooks, what is your favorite passing concept? Flood into the boundary, Y, cross, etc. I don't have one specific. I do have a preference, which is pro style passing. Okay, I want split field concepts. I want my quarterback to have all the answers every single given play. And yes, I know as a coordinator, our job is to say, okay, they're playing cover 3 today. Let's design cover 3 beaters. However, a lot of teams are mixing coverages now. A lot of teams are disguising coverages now, which means pre-snap, one thing might look open. Post-snap, things change on us. So in order to be as efficient as humanly possible in the passing game, I want to have mixed field concepts, which means over here, I've got man beaters. Over here, I've got zone beaters. Classic zone beaters would be like dagger. All right, would be like flood into the boundary, would be these types of concepts. Y cross, in my opinion, is both. It could be a man beater and a zone beater, right? Because if we give a play action look on the front side, we might be able to get that linebacker that's responsible for man coverage sucked up a little bit. Now we've got grass, right? Same thing in a zone beater concept. If that runner or that tight end might be closed window 1, he might open up window 2. Definitely going to open up window 3 on the sideline by the time he gets there. So I didn't give you a specific answer there. I think I gave you the right answer, though. I'd be a mixed, split field read offense as a passing concepts. Thoughts?
Me personally, I like crossers. I like mesh. Anything basic for me is what I like.
You like a who's on the ground play.
Yeah, for sure. Anything that makes life easier on me.
Who's on the ground play is what we call mesh around here. That's a testament to one of my favorite offensive coordinators in high school football right about now. Do defensive rotations expand a little bit this year with all the new faces fighting for spots? Okay, so this is a good question because of what he's saying in terms of like there's a lot of, hey, who's going to start here? Who is the guy? I think a lot of that gets weeded out during camp, though. I think a lot of that gets weeded out during fall camp in terms of this guy played way better over the 6-week span than the other guy. He gets the right to lose the job. In terms of older guys that are like I'm thinking mentally right now of a Ja'Cory Thomas. If Ja'Cory Thomas has a very, very clean fall camp, he's obviously very, very well versed in the playbook. He's obviously been practicing at the University of Georgia for a long time. Some of these guys like Jaden Harris coming into the mix from Miami, the DB transfer from UAB. Some of these guys coming in, we know the Branch kid might be banged up to start fall camp anyways, right? Some of these guys that are coming in, if Ja'Cory Thomas has a good enough fall camp, I think he's going to have the right to lose that job, right? So he's going to go into the season being the starter. But if he doesn't play well enough, boom, we start to slide in guys behind him. Whereas like a position like inside linebacker, I know CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson are the older veterans in this group, but I think we might see a rep split right there between some of those younger cats like Justin Cole or Chris Cole specifically and Justin Williams.
Yeah, I mean, especially knowing how Georgia's opening up their season this year, where they don't have a Clemson week 1. They have a few games to kind of adjust before they have to make the trip up to Tennessee. You're going to see a lot of faces probably rotated in on the defensive side of the football, as they did even last year against Clemson. I mean, you saw them play a lot of players, a lot of freshmen in that game. So you're going to see a lot of faces. But by the time week 4, week 5 rolls around, that's when you start to see the lineups and the depth chart really get tightened up of the number of names that you see play on the defensive side of the football.
On to our next question from Drew Rowell. Rowell? Is that how would you pronounce that, Rowell? What's the difference between guys on the front 7 executing stunts / twist for running plays and executing stunts / twist for passing plays? Jonathan, do you have a guess as to what the difference might be?
No.
Depth.
Right?
Against the pass, like on 3rd and 12, when we throw a TE stunt where the defensive end and the tackle twist, we can run that much further upfield. Where if we twist those two guys on 1st and 10, it needs to be a shallow twist. All we're trying to do is jack up the combinations for the offensive line. We're really not trying to create too much penetration. If we do on those twists and stunts in the run game, we open up creases and levels of the defense. We want to be able to shift and twist while pushing that offensive line back, right? While also getting their shoulders turned because we've twisted upon them. So that's the only real difference between what we call run stunts and pass stunts, right? In the passing game, we can get some verticality to them. We want to push the pocket vertically. In the run, we want to push as a unit just behind the line of scrimmage. We want to reset the line of scrimmage, but we don't want to be 2.5 yards deep into the backfield. Why did the ACC cave in? Do you think it was because they saw something in the lawsuit that was not going to go their way? Yeah, normally, I watched a lot of suits, but that's about the extent of my knowledge of the law. But from my understanding, when you settle, it's because you think you was finna lose, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you settle this early. This was a lawsuit they fought for a year, guys. This ain't a lawsuit that they kicked the can down the road for 4 or 5 years, 6 years. They wanted to take this L swiftly, is what it seemed like to me.
I think, too, it's notable that not only did they cave in, but at the level and extreme that they did cave in of, we're even going to make life easier on you of when you do ultimately leave. Like, we'll even cut down the cost of what it's going to be, and we'll just make life easier for both of us. It'll be nice and clean and quick, and we're just going to say we're done with this and move on.
JS Webb. Man, one of those, we're looking for blame. We got 4 fingers coming back to us. JS Webb says, question, how is it that the SEC and the Big Ten will be able to shape the playoff structure? Who gave them that kind of power? The other conferences did. All right. The SEC, all it took was the SEC and the Big Ten to sign an agreement. And that agreement scared everybody else in college football into the thought process that, oh shit, they might leave us for a Super League. And they still might. They might leave us for a Super League. They banded together, these 2 big bad brothers. All right. And now we have to sign, we called it the Memorandum of Inferiority. That's what we called it on this network. It is a literal memorandum. And the memorandum basically states, we, the SEC and the Big Ten, are bigger, better, and badder than you. Group of 5, Big 12, ACC, slappy over there, independent Notre Dame. We are bigger, better, badder than you, and you're going to agree. And you are going to admit that we are bigger, better, and badder than you by signing this memorandum that says starting in 2026, we have to consult you, but that's it. We get to decide whatever we want, and you are going to agree to it just to be a part of the bigger machine. Those conferences gave them the power because, to be honest with you, they didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, you just watch the SEC and the Big Ten cause another conference to completely go away. I mean, the Pac-12 no longer exists because the Big Ten completely absorbed a majority of their teams. The Big 12 played a role in that as well. And now you're talking about 2 conferences that are looking to dominate the college football playoff field. If you're the Big 12 and the ACC, you probably don't want to push back on that too much because you don't want to put your conference in jeopardy as well of, well, we might completely disappear as well, and we may no longer exist if we don't comply with what these two major conferences are wanting to do.
All right, we're going down the chat just a little bit. This one comes from In Shyman 21, says, who's your guy at UGA you think hasn't been talked about enough but could make a big impact? Does any name pop up immediately in your brain?
Well, I figured you were going to go ahead and fire off 2 names considering the film study we did today.
Jordan Thomas and Nasir Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Thomas, big ugly. Nasir Johnson, big sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I do think that one player that has kind of that nobody even talks about anymore, considering maybe after this season, maybe some of the expectations that were put on him and overall how the unit performed this past season, and especially considering the 2 additions that Georgia made in the transfer portal. But I think London Humphreys has kind of just disappeared in the conversation this offseason. Like anytime you bring up the wide receiver unit, he never gets brought up. It's really focused on Dylan Bell. It's really focused on Noah Thomas, or it's Zachariah Branch and names like that, or even the freshmen. I mean, CJ Wiley, he gets brought up quite a bit, but London Humphreys, kind of a name that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. And I think that you're going to see one of these year 2 jumps for him, because it was discussed during the offseason last year of how he's going to have to get acclimated. This maybe wasn't a year 1 top performer for Georgia because he was just a freshman coming from Vanderbilt. So still very young in his college career, but I think that you could see a bit of an expanded role for him. And I thought he made some big moments and some big plays for Georgia too as the season progressed.
There was some obvious lack of continuity and rapport with him and Carson, particularly early on in the season. That one of those interceptions against Texas, I believe, it's just like, man, he's trying to throw you in. There's a little drop action on interceptions. Like, he's trying to throw you inside. You need to be moving further inside. We should never be moving out on that particular route. Make sure you're firing off questions in the chat. I think we've already pretty much caught up here. Cody McCormick says, was Bo Bentley a hidden gem? Are there any more in this class? And could 2026 be better than anticipated? He's a top 10 quarterback consensus. So I don't think he was a hidden gem by any stretch of the means. I think he's a Georgia just got in the mix guy. So he popped up on our radar from a big standpoint. There might be some further developments in the mix here. I don't know where I'm going to find the bandwidth, but I'm going to have to. I do think we're going to start getting like furthermore immersed into national recruiting, maybe not just Georgia prospects. And had we been immersed fully in national recruiting, I don't think there's any way we would have missed Bo Bentley this late into the cycle. I mean, the chat is right. It's March, and it's the first time I'm bringing him to you. That tells me I'm late on the eval here, because this is not somebody that's under the radar. He's got big time O's.
Yeah, I mean, he's a borderline top 100 player in this class too. Yeah. I mean, he got onto the radar because Georgia extended an offer, and during a time too where it's Jared Curtis is their top priority. That's who they're really pushing for. Then you go and offer this other guy from Texas, and the tape pops, and it's certainly one of them for sure. You
want the text message I sent off to sources yesterday?
Yeah.
Not that my opinion ever sways anything that they ever do. If it's not Jared Curtis, Bo Bentley is the best quarterback in this class.
I would agree.
No response as of yet, because I don't think they want to give indications of where they stand.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my opinion. I would be all in on Curtis because of the profile, and I would be checking temperatures very, very early on to let me know, okay, starting in June, Curtis looks like he might be fading from us. If that's the case, all in on Mr. Bentley.
Now, you want to talk about hidden gems, though. I saw this name thrown in the comment section last night during the live show, and I went and checked out the highlight reel after the show. This is Marcus Harrison from East Hall High School. He's got offers from Kennesaw and Georgia State, the likes of that right now. That's a fun tape to watch. Not going to be on Georgia's radar more than likely, but
is East Hall still triple optioning?
No, not from the highlight
that
I believe. Based on what I was watching last night, it was some fun tape.
He got one of them ones?
It's fun. I don't know if it's tape. Like 2%er type deal, but
we got time.
He's
today.
A playmaker.
This is the type of day to be doing it. So go ahead, pull it up over there. We'll figure it out. We'll mess around and find out what my man's tape is out here looking like. So make sure you're firing off again those questions in the chat. I see a lot of people just mingling out here. Cody McCormick says, Brooks, where do you see college football in 5 years? You said that you were optimistic after reading, so we don't have to the other day. Where is it headed in your opinion? All right. So I've been very, very consistent on where I think college football is going. So let's give you the take all over again. Let's say I'm 5-star Jimmy from Buford High School. okay, in 2 or 3 years. Maybe 6 months from now, depending on how fast this legislation gets brought down. When I decide on National Signing Day where I'm signing my allegiances to, I will be signing a 1-year contract. This is what I think is going to happen. I will be signing a 1-year contract, and in exchange for their, using of my name, image, and likeness, I will sign for a set amount. Okay. So let's say at the University of Georgia, we've already talked about it. They have announced they're going to dedicate $15 million annually to their football roster. There are 85 scholarship football players, okay, at the University of Georgia. Let's divide that by 85. If we divide $15 million by 85, that is $176,000 annually. Let's just round numbers, $175K. I signed at the University of Georgia. I'm going to get paid annually $175,000 as my base salary. Okay, we all get that. That's my base salary to be a football player at the University of Georgia. Now, are they going to tilt it? The starting quarterback needs more of that rev share than the backup left guard that's on scholarship? Probably. But for safekeeping, let's call it $175,000. Now, on top of that, if I am a Malachi Starks, if I am a Michael Williams, if I am a insert big name football player that actually carries marketability, and Powerade wants to approach me and pay me $25,000 to be in a commercial, then that will go through Deloitte, the actual name, image, and likeness. Let's call them sheriffs, okay? It will go through them to make sure it is actually of market value. We're not out here because I am a booster and I own a business. I'm giving $50,000 for Malachi Starks to show up and wave and say hi to my fans to the fans at the local car dealership. That shit ain't flying no more. That appearance fee is actually going to have to be passed through Deloitte to make sure it is not taking advantage of name, image, and likeness. Okay, so we all get that. You get a base salary. Everything north of $600 will have to go through Deloitte to make sure there's no money laundering going on, make sure there's no fugazi shit going on, make sure the deals and market value is actually being paid outright. Now, that all sounds good, all sounds regulated. Since the days of old, what is the one thing the government ain't never been able to regulate, Jonathan?
Money.
That cash, baby, not money.
Cash.
That cash. There ain't no tangible tracking of cash. It's impossible. So it's why drug lords need the money or launder their money, right? We got to get it into spendable cash. All right. So we gonna go back to them bag droppings. I'm telling you right now. All right. When 5-star football player needs to be swayed, come close to signing day, there's a bag full of cash, son, and you do with that what you will. But we'd love to have you at insert SEC school. We'd love to have you here at insert school. So that's where we're going. It's going to be like the days of old, but with guaranteed salaries for college football players.
Dialing back the clock.
And by the way, I've been on that one since last summer.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking about this since last summer. That $600 number is coming out and reporting. Your boy been talking about that here for a year and a half now. So run that tape. Add to that question the loss of backups with the portal. I think he's going here. Marion Campbell had 2 questions. Running backs don't carry as much, lessening injuries and adding life length to their career. The longer schedule, more conference games, plus more playoff adds work and injury risk. Players are paid more, but they are more susceptible. This is true. We are extending the length of the year, which means we're extending the amount, or we're increasing the amount of exposures is the key word here. We are extending the amount of exposures.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of saw that with multiple teams even this year in just a 12-team format of, well, why are these teams not looking as good as they have maybe even earlier in the season, not even having to go as far back as the previous season, but earlier in the year? Well, with the combination of the transfer portal and how often players are leaving rosters, I mean, depth is depleted on all kinds of college rosters. And Kirby Smart talked on that heading into last season. So when you are banged up like Georgia was on the offensive line, or when you are banged up on defensive line, even just by one player, then you're having to add in more players, but those players may not have even played college football yet. So the depth is deteriorated. And so, yeah, it certainly plays a role in playing more games because there are more injuries.
And you're practicing longer.
Yep.
And I would imagine since NIL came around, and this is just a hypothesis, I would imagine backups play a whole hell of a lot harder in practice than they ever did.
Mm-hmm.
You're not only fighting, I mean, you're on scholarship, but now we're fighting for cash. Everyone's a D2 athlete. I'll never forget that. Like when I played college football in Division II, you only have 35 scholarships total for the roster that has 140 guys on it.
Yeah.
So every day is negotiation period. Every day, every time you climb a depth chart roll in Division II, pay raise. I get to take less student loans out next year. I make the bus. I get put on scholarship. I make the bus and the 2 deep. Now I'm getting an additional, $5-10 grand a semester. I'm a starter. Now I ain't got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it is now in college football. I'm a starter. I get paid money. I get paid good money. I'm a backup. I get paid less money. I'm a third stringer. I might only get my scholarship. That's a different level of competing nowadays, I would imagine. Now, you have the other side of it where it's like, coach, you're coaching me hard. To hell with you. I got other guys trying to poach me right now. I'm just going to go over there and get that check. They're offering me a raise and they're not yelling at me. To hell with you. There's a lot of that going on too. But I would imagine the bottoms of these rosters are competing for that bread just a little bit harder.
Yeah, I bet.
Back in the day, if you were a 4-star recruit that's on scholarship year 1, but you ain't never going to play, you just get to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Unless they want to process your scholarship, which was back in the day a no-no. If you out here red tagging folks and pulling their scholarships on the recruiting trail, they're going to be counter recruiting you with that. Nowadays, we don't have to worry about that.
Nope.
That's good news. Soon to be settled. It's a question from JS Web Music. Brooks, can you explain to me the way the portal works? For example, how many times a year does it open? Can anyone at any time enter the portal? What do teams have to pick someone up? All right, so let's talk about the rules and let's talk about the real. 2 different conversations as per usual. All right, the rules are there are 2 windows. December 2nd was this year's window, and then after spring period in the end of May, open up a window as well. Now, why are those windows the way that they are? Any answer?
Academic calendar.
Academic calendar, because we pretend to care about academics around here with regards to football. That's why those windows are set the way they are. So you can get into the portal at the end of your winter semester and get into our fall semester and get into classes come spring semester. Okay. So you have I think it's a 15-day window in both windows to be contacted once you go in. Now, how does the process work? You go into your registrar's office, you go into your coach's office, you say, Coach, I am electing to enter my name into the transfer portal. They have 48 hours, I believe it is, to actually put that paperwork in.
Yes.
Okay. And over that 48 hours, they got plenty of time to do whatever they need to try to keep you from doing that. Okay. It's why you saw situations last year where, and several years and every year where player X tweets out, I'm entering the portal. Hayes Fawcett runs the article. 2 days later, I'm staying at the University of so-and-so. Never actually entered the portal. Name never officially went into the portal. Okay. I'm electing to enter the portal. I have officially entered the portal. 2 totally different conversations. There's a waiting period there of paperwork that needs to be processed. In reality, it's 1 sheet. They send it off to the NCAA registrar. Boom. Players are supposed to be officially in the portal. They got some fugazi period there is what we're going to call that. That's the real. That's the rules. Now, here's what the real is. Okay. Starting in about August. I mean, hell, if you read the Texas Tech article, they start talking about how they're doing their work on these guys in July.
Yep.
What does doing the work look like? It ain't just evaluating the dude. I'm going to tell you that right now. What the doing the work is, hey, we're going to start in September. We're not going to call the player first. We're going to call who we talked to when we recruited the player out of high school, whether that be the high school football coach, whether that be the 7-on-7 coach that brought him on campus, whether that be the handler, whether that be the agent, which is where a lot of this is getting done nowadays. We're going to contact them in about September and just get a feel. Hey, where's the guy at? Is he happy? Is he mad? Is he going to enter the portal? What's going on? All right, so we're going to have those initial conversations starting out in about September once depth charts are finalized from fall camp. About October, we're going to start heating up. October, we're going to start talking finances. Hey, we've got this waiting on you. You know, we got this waiting on you. It's why you've seen some of these. My ankle injury lasted 9 weeks. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Last couple of years, that stuff's happening at a much higher rate. Oh, I'm banged up, got a hammy tightness week 3. Yeah, I start to practice again week 5. Oh, dang, coach, I rolled my ankle. Oh, Oh, so you gonna sit it out the rest of the year? Why? Oh, enter the portal, big raise going to Texas. That kind of thing. All right, that's happening at a higher rate nowadays in college football. The reason being is because those conversations. I was told there was a certain transfer quarterback that had his deal finalized in October. Knew exactly what he was going to get when he got to the portal, where he was going, hit the portal, was officially in the portal for about 6 hours. Boom, commitment edited out. How'd that happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. You guys went through a full negotiation process, had your contract value signed, sealed, delivered within 6 hours? That's pretty wild. You see these players going into the portal all the time with no contact designations. How you going to find your new home? You ain't supposed to be contacted. How you going to find your new home? You already know where your new home is? That's interesting. So that's the real. All right, the poaching happens September, October, November. The portal opens in December. They already know where they're going.
Well, I mean, here's a recent example of this. I don't know if people remember when Riley Leonard entered his name into the portal, but he did so before the portal window even opened up and committed to Notre Dame before it was even open. Like that was a done deal. Notre Dame and Duke played each other in 2023. So you would probably imagine that Riley Leonard, of course, had his idea of where he was going. Notre Dame had already been in contact with him. They played one another. Next thing you know, Riley Leonard leading the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to a national title game.
Sports Masochist says Auburn and Tennessee about to wow out like they used to. He's talking about under the new NIL model. Incorrect, sir. Auburn was an occasional one of these back in the day, but Auburn and Tennessee's recruiting momentum started once NIL was legal. Once they could drum up all the money from their boosters from a legal standpoint, your notorious bag droppers, I mean, I ain't got to tell you. Go look at who dominated recruiting from 2005 to 2020. Just go look. And it's the same 5, 6, 7 schools, okay? With the occasional Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss out here getting just slammed with show cause orders. They got him for the you-know-what's on the phones.
Yeah.
The special services, if you will. It was because he was paying Robert Nkadichi out of cash, way too much money. Laramie Tunsil, Laquan Treadwell, okay, Robert Nkadichi's brother. All right, that kind of stuff. When you start doing that at a school like that, you're gonna get red flagged really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a big boy, they probably ain't gonna run you down.
Nope.
So it's unfortunate for some of these schools that who really, really pissed away their opportunity in the NIL space? USC. USC, when I talked to coaches on that staff when NIL first dropped, I got a list. Jonathan, of the Fortune 500 companies that they were talking to that were graduates of USC that they knew loved USC Trojan football. Ain't recruited in the top 10 since NIL came around. How?
Well,
a tremendous waste of resources.
Well, I think kind of what we learned is they went about it the wrong way, because obviously they were making some strong plays there for the last couple of years. I mean, multiple Georgia recruits.
Michael Williams
was one of these. Committed on the spot at USC. So it seems like, there was some incentive maybe for them to commit to USC, doing it way early in the process. I'm talking like spring. Like the summer hasn't even arrived when these official visits are really ramping up. Next thing you know, a month later, those players are no longer committed to USC, and they all ended up at other schools.
It's a great question here from Wesley Parker. Caleb, I see yours as well. Brooks, is the secret Thursday trip only for you to learn and gain more football knowledge, or are you trying to get yourself in the door of any type of coaching position? Just curious. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't think about being a coach someday. I would just straight up lie. That would be me just placating to you and not telling you the truth. There is a portion of me constantly that feels the need to scratch an itch coaching football. However, this secret covert summer tour, campus tour, is all about searching for knowledge. It's all about learning more about football. That is 100% my sole intentions when going here. So this week we have our first one, and I'm super excited to see what these things are going to feel like at other spots and other stops. Some of these stops really, really far travel for me, but I'm just curious, man. That's all I am. I'm curious about football. And I talked about this last night, and I've explained this to coaches. My biggest fear doing what I do is going viral and a coach getting blamed that doesn't deserve it, or a player getting blamed that doesn't deserve it because I'm wrong, because there is some type of void or lack of knowledge in my education. And again, sounds superficial, sounds way like this guy thinks he's way too important. I just care to be right. And we do things way different than any other media content creation company from a football standpoint. But if I'm not continuing to grow my football education, then we are growing further and further away from the actual real when I get in front of that board. So that's the purpose. But, there may be a portion of me that goes to, 8 or 9 of these campuses this summer, and that itch becomes undeniable. That there is a portion of that. And I had a conversation with a Power 5 head coach yesterday about this, and his initial answer was, we don't let outside media members into our building, period. And my initial response was, I hope that as I continue to grow, I further distance myself from he's a media guy. I want people to come here and realize that I am just a lover of ball. That is it. And I so happen to be making a career out of talking about it, but that's all we do here. I think what we do best is show you on display every single day. That guy loves football. And I promise you right now, watch that film study we got coming out at 2:00. Find me somebody who loves ball that much that is not in the circles of coaching. And I do think it's very unique to what we got going on here.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see here. Oh, let's go up to Caleb's question. Caleb, what is going on to take the offense to get back to being among elite? We've lost a lot of talent, but it doesn't feel like we've replenished well enough. You hit the nail on the head within your own question. You want to get back to looking like you looked offensively in 2021 and 2022? You better have players develop into that, okay? I think there's no secret. And we learn more and more every single week when NFL teams are playing just how good those rosters were, right? We learn every single week just how good Warren McClendon is. Guys you don't even think about, right? Warren McClendon played 13 games this year as a swing player in the NFL. You don't remember that. You don't remember that for 2 years he locked down the right side of the offensive line. So much so that Amarius Mims was flirting with the transfer portal. Now, you remember it now that I tell you, but I don't think people care to apply it as, oh, we don't have that anymore. We just don't have the successes that you had in those time periods. So to answer your question, Monroe Freeland gotta play healthy and gotta play up to his standard. Ernest Green, same thing. Okay. Drew Bobo's got to lock down the center position this year after losing 2 NFL guys, right? Cedric Van Pran going to live on an NFL roster. Jerry Wilson going to live on an NFL roster. You're going to have to replace those guys. I think also you got to have the luck that comes from being healthy. I think that's something we had really, really pointed out to us this last week in Indianapolis. My God, those guys tested better than anybody else. They rarely played that explosive because they weren't ever fully healthy when out there playing for Georgia.
Yeah, it's as simple as the wide receiver unit. The fact that it's great that you got your best wide receiver recruiting class since 2019. It's great that you did that. Those guys have to develop into what Ladd McConkey was able to do for you, or even some of the other talents that you've had on this roster. And the same thing for the tight end room, like this group of tight ends that you're getting in this class and last class. Those guys have to develop into these star tight end and playmakers that you have. Nate Frazier has to continue to grow as a running back and limit the turnovers and continue to be explosive like he was as a true freshman, while also taking on more reps. All those things have to happen. The signs are pointing to that right now, but it actually has to turn out into something.
Culminate. Chase White says, do you think most of the NIL deals should be performance incentivized? Well, moving forward, they will be market incentivized. Yeah. Your salary will be performance incentivized. So no, I do not believe what you're talking about is pay for play. You play better, I give you more money. That's the last thing we want going on, because I got a wide receiver that's making $100,000. He goes for $150 next week. He comes back into my office saying, Coach, I need a raise or I'm gone. That ain't good for the health of this sport. It's not good for the health of that young man either, by the way. Oh, every time I perform outside of my standard, I'm getting a raise. That ain't how life works, dog. That ain't how life works in the NFL either, by the way. Look at James Cook right now. James Cook's in the verge of having to hold his ass out just to get the money that he feels as if he deserves. That's employees everywhere, by the way. I don't feel like I make the money that I deserve. You probably don't feel like you make the money that you deserve. You sitting at home right now probably don't feel like you make the money that you deserve. And until you get into a situation where you have autonomy and full leverage, that's the life of business structures. So that's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. I don't like this whole, coach, I had 2 sacks today, I need a raise. That's not good for the longevity of these rosters and therefore of this sport. I see this over and over and over and over and over again. And I got tremendous hopes for this football player. I'm putting a blanket on the fire just a little bit. Okay. I think Josh Jackson is a tremendous talent. I think he's going to be an exceptional pass blocker from day one. It's going to take 3 seconds to run around the sumbitch, period. Point blank in the pass protection department. However, if you actually watch the film of Josh Jackson that he put on display as a redshirt freshman,
True freshman,
but didn't he have a gap year?
Oh, yeah.
So I think he came in as an older guy. So as a 19-year-old freshman last year, that dude's catching contact. That dude, he's playing way too high. The game is way too fast right now for him, as you would expect from a guy who has not played football since middle school. Okay, so I think there's a growth period here. I think this spring is tremendous for him. Having Monroe not available, having Ernest Green not available means baptism by fire. There's no way you come out of this spring not a considerably better football player. So I'm excited to see what it looks like this spring, or at least excited to hear, because we ain't going to be able to see it. Okay, so there's that.
And I feel like the offensive line, this is often a conversation we have, it feels like every offseason, with players getting passed up because of maybe they had a bad game or two. And I know that that's a discussion around Monroe Freeling. I know that's a discussion around Ernest Green of Monroe's performance against Notre Dame was not what he had typically put on tape, and Ernest Green played banged up last year, certainly did not play how he did as redshirt freshman. But this is constantly a conversation of, can we get past this other guy so we can let this other player who we think is more special to play? Monroe Freeling was a great tackle for Georgia up until the final week of the season. I mean, he was reliable. Nobody was talking bad about Monroe Freeling until he gave up a couple sacks against Notre Dame, because he was, what we found out, playing banged up, and he was playing hurt. I mean, these are guys on an offensive line where you lost 3 interior offensive linemen. You lost Dylan Fairchild, you lost Jared Wilson, and you lost Tate Ratledge. You need experience up there. Ernest Green and Monroe Freeling bring a lot of experience to a roster that is trying to find it. Drew Bobo, thankfully, has some experience as well. Micah Morris has some experience as well, because Georgia has rotated him in over the years. But you need some continuity up there. You need some health, and you need some experience, especially knowing that you have a new, fresh starting quarterback coming into this next season as well. So, yeah, Josh Jackson is great. He's super talented, and the ceiling is very high, but you're probably better suited of playing these guys that have been playing SEC football for the past couple of seasons.
And look, I know he got ran around twice in the Notre Dame game, but if you want to see what Monroe Freeling looks like healthy, go watch that Tennessee game. Just go watch it. Anthony Joseph standing across from him, James Pierce Jr. standing across from him for 4 quarters. Handles business, does a lot of stuff in the screen game as well, because he's a tremendous athlete. I think Monroe Freeling has potential to be like a top 20 pick in the NFL. But yeah, sit him if you want for the basketball guy. Now, the basketball guy may be one day a long-time NFL player, because they just don't make 6'10" offensive tackles very often. That being said, the 6'7" guy's pretty damn good as well. Unfortunate misspelling here on Bo Bentley's name. Is he interested in Georgia and vice versa? I haven't dug that deep into it. This is a kid from Texas that I think is everything I've seen. And I'll make jokes about it, but I think Oklahoma might be here. I'll check, see what we got going on in terms of where they feel like they stand with him.
Yeah, I don't think he's released either what his official visits are looking like this summer either. That's typically the biggest indicator of which teams are really hunting after this prospect and which teams is he actually interested in as well. So I'd imagine once you kind of figure out where is he taking trips to during the spring for these spring games and where is he going this summer, those will kind of give you a good indicator of where he might be heading.
Yeah, it looks like Oklahoma's been in on it very early, and I think there's a tie there. Someone popped up in the comments yesterday and said they're from the area. He's an Oklahoma Sooner. We'll see. I think what you're seeing right now is Bo's stock being increased across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
I think everyone's starting to realize, whoa, because right now is the time of the year where they're reevaluating junior tape. They're looking at their board. They're rescattering their board. They're readjusting their board. Seeing an offer like that from Georgia pop up means they're about to get into the mix. So we'll see. I'm with you, Jonathan. I think there's a reason why we've seen a delay in some of these official visit dates, because I think there's been some newfound interest from both him and other parties. Speaking of a similar topic, we didn't get to it last night. Jordan Edmonds, the corner out of Sprayberry, was set to commit the 18th.
Yeah.
Set to commit the 18th, delayed that. It was going to be Alabama the whole way. I think Georgia's realized now, hey, we got to start pushing hard for this kid. He's a lot better than even we realized. He's a top 50 eval for me. So there's a good news story there for Georgia fans. Make sure we're putting the question mark on there, boys. Here's a question. Where in the F is my man Christian Kirby? He's in Vegas. Did we get a reason why?
I mean, it's spring break.
Oh,
It's spring break for you at UGA right now. So he doesn't have class this week.
You know what? For the life of me, can't figure the guy out. You know, he eats chicken and rice. And he's very disciplined. I've never seen him drink anything other than like whiskey on the rocks, because you can't have mixers type guy. A city of sin filled with debauchery. I didn't think that would be something he'd want to do during spring break. I thought during spring break, this would be a guy that's like, I don't know, rekindling his love for the guitar or something like that.
Now, he did say this is the first time he's taken a trip during spring break since he got to college.
See, that checks out.
And he does fancy some blackjack. So those two things adds up.
You know what he did during, we went to New Orleans. There's a big casino down there. Do you know what he did the entire time?
What?
He walked around looking for slot machines with credit on them and pulled the credit from the slot machines. It was like a fiend looking at a crackhead run around the city looking for his next fix. And you know what? Every night it would be like, just got 31 cents off that machine. And then he'd come up. And after like 2 or 3 hours of me losing my money at the blackjack table, he'd come back with a $5 ticket. Like, I made $5. Like, dude, here's $40. Go put it on black. Like, for the love of God, dude. Jesus. So, yeah, that guy going to Vegas. I'm like, what is going on? You know what I mean? I don't know. We found out he's got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can relieve that or release that information. We found out he had a girlfriend of 6 months, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know the length.
Out of nowhere. Don't know the guy. Favorite gambling game. I like blackjack myself if I'm going. I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on red, put it on black every once in a while over the roulette table, but I'm gonna be hanging out at blackjack. I feel like it's the easiest game to play for the longest amount of time.
Yeah, blackjack's good. I'm always at the roulette table. I don't know. That's just what I do. That's
just
the
giving
only
it
game
away.
Yep,
just giving it away.
Giving money away. It's kind of fun, I guess.
Yeah, I like the team effort of you and the boys sitting down at a blackjack table, you versus the dealer. And it's even better when the dealer's there to help you. You know what I mean? You always when you sit down at a blackjack table, show some love to that dealer, okay? Because they do, kind of help you out if you're someone who's providing the juice.
I keep hearing people talk about craps. And this is one thing that I don't like about casinos is I would love to learn how to play that, because you're talking about like you get some unity with you and the boys, and that is a game where you get some unity. You can kind of play with one another, but there's no opportunity to sit down there and learn, because then you're holding up the game or other people are trying to have a good time and you're sitting there asking questions, doing the wrong thing. People get pissed at you. That's one thing I hate about casinos is there's really no opportunity to sit there and try and learn.
Yeah, no hitting on 16. No hitting on 16 to the blackjack table, so I've been told. I think unless the dealer's showing 17.
There you go.
And then you have to. I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no chicken fights. No chicken fights. We're here to address any more questions you guys got going on. I think this is a sarcastic response here from MG Way. We have 5 stars on the bench that transfer for better playing time, though.
I would imagine that's maybe a Damon Wilson reference.
Well, I think he's just being sarcastic.
Oh.
But yeah, to anybody with that type of mindset, which is a substantive portion of the audience, honestly, a lot larger than it was willing to admit in a scenario like this. If the backup transfers, he probably ain't as good as the starter. I know that's crazy to believe. That's insane, but that's kind of how that works.
There's a reason they're going somewhere else for playing time.
Big facts. Big facts. Jonathan, we have a film study locked and loaded. Okay. And we don't have any more questions firing in the chat. No super chubs going on. Do you think
we are going to check out this tape before?
Oh, yeah. Let's check out this tape. I want to see this.
His name is this is Jamarcus Harrison from East Hall High School here in the state of Georgia. Not ranked on 247 or anything like that. Again, Kennesaw State, Georgia State, the schools that are kind of sniffing around on this one. I think it's some fun tape.
Spin me to 3 right here, JWill. All right. Let's see here. What's his name? Jamarcus what?
Jamarcus Harrison.
Jamarcus Harrison from East Hall High School. Okay. All right. There's a smaller prospect, Jonathan.
Yeah.
What?
I told you, man.
What? A jump throw?
Just feels like a super raw athlete.
Yeah. I want to see some actual mechanics here. All right. We're a little bit on the left side. This kid has to be on the 7-on-7 circuit, you would imagine.
I would think so. This one's pretty crazy.
Pump, juke, flick. Yeah. This is best athlete on the field playing the position. Now, this is against Jefferson right here. Yeah, he can run. So can 15. Who the hell is 15 from Jefferson? Who in the hell is this cat? Who is this dude running him down? I need to find out 15's bio. Holy hell.
Yeah, that's some closing speed right
there. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's right up the road. I'm going to have to go check him out. I know they had a kid go to Navy last year, one of the academies. All right, we're juicy. This is really fun tape. You're right. Now, I could understand why a Power 5 coach is like, whoa, hey, I'm not seeing any work from the pocket. I'm not seeing any traditional quarterback play. I'm seeing playmaking right now. We're going to put the ball on the ground and then still score a tud. Oh, we're pulling away too.
By the way, he's listed at 6'4", 186.
Nuh-uh.
6'4", 186.
This kid's 6'4"?
That's what 247 has him at.
Holy hell. Where is Dale McGee not offered?
Yes. Georgia State's offered, Kennesaw State is offered, and USF just recently offered.
Okay. Where's Wake Forest? I bet Wake Forest will be the next one. Wake Forest comes down to this state and offers every mid-major kid available, all of them. And they're the first one. When I see Wake Forest, I know immediately, like within the next 2 months, Kentucky's coming. All right, Kentucky's going to be in that mix. And then right after that, after Kentucky pops, you know who's going to call? Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. And then once Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss calls, you know who's calling right after that? Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. And then once Kalen DeBoer at Alabama calls, you know who's calling right after that? Georgia. And meanwhile, as these phone calls and as these offers start to happen, we go from 3-star offered by the Wake Forests of the world to a 4-star once Ole Miss and Florida and Kentucky offer us, and then a 5-star once Georgia and Alabama offer us. For you parents listening today that are always asking, how does the star system work? That's how it works right there.
Yeah, this is just one that I'll certainly be interested to monitor.
The 6'4" piques my interest far more than any of this. When we're moving like this at 6'4", that really, really piques my interest. Because we're not doing a lot from the pocket. I mean, it's a 9-step drop right here. All right. And even that ball, like DB, we got to make a play on that one. The way he runs, Jonathan, we might be a receiver.
Yeah.
If we can catch the football. We got an athlete on our hands, no doubt. 2026?
Yes.
All right. So I'm very interested to see what happens to the senior eval of this guy. That's another one of those kids that, you know, in the state, probably they have tabs on him.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Actually, I can tell you right now if they have tabs on him. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. As soon as I was watching the tape, I was like, maybe this isn't a quarterback at the next level, but again, like I said at the very beginning of it, I was like, this is just a super raw athlete that deserves some love for sure. Because I mean, he's pulling away from. So I mean, we saw from Jefferson High School, slappy in the state of Georgia.
No, they are consistently competing and winning state titles in the state of Georgia. Let's see here. I might have scrolled up a little bit too far. I know their board in 2026 obviously starts and ends, like we said, with Jared Curtis, Landon Duckworth in the mix. Obviously, Bo Bentley just popped up in the mix as of late. Let me see if my man has made the list. Good Lord, we talk a whole hell of a lot more than I thought we did. All right, here we go. Quarterbacks. What's my man's name again?
Jamarcus Harrison.
Not on this list.
Okay.
This list is 20 deep. And not on this list, but a lot of these guys aren't guys that they're going to land. Like Bell, the kid from Texas, they're not going to get in on that one. I mean, he's even said he's not taking any visits; he's just listening. So they're not getting in on that mix. Faison Brandon, they're not going to land Faison Brandon, right? The Ryder Lions kid out of California, we'll see, but I don't know where that kid's going to end up. So yeah, I think we had a good show. Appreciate you guys for being here today. We will not be live tomorrow. Your boy's going to be out of town. And we just can't fathom doing another stream without Christian Kirby. So, unfortunate. Appreciate you guys for being here. We got a film study coming up right now. Love you. Bye.